Hello and welcome. My name is Aaron and this is the Thrive Life podcast, where I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with some pretty special people that have inspired me along my health journey. I hope these discussions can inform and inspire you along your journey, so please listen with an open heart and an open mind and enjoy the show. Thanks for tuning in. Check it, this is how I'm gonna says it us brecken when I'm getting down with my brethrens, yo. And today, the brethren that I be spreckening with is a long-time friend. Actually, we've known each other a lifetime, but our health journeys only kind of collided when we started, getting into health. Our friendship, rekindled actually when we started getting into health. I remember back in 2019, I think was the first time we went and jumped in some cold water together out in the bush, and then since then, taking the likings of like Paul Chek and the Chek Institute, and just watching our friendship grow from that. And I thought I'd get this man on the podcast today because he's been doing the courses and doing the work, I guess. And
living the life. Yeah,
and just dropping all that good shit. So I thought he'd get on the podcast to share his wisdom and his knowledge and what he's up to and what he's planning on doing. So welcome, Jamie, to the Thrive Life podcast.
Happy to be here, brother. Yeah. What a beat that is, by the way. That's sick.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that was an old throwaway beat that was just sitting in my folders and thought I'd use it for the intro.
Well,
saves paying someone else to do it.
Not a throwaway anymore, is it? Yeah, that's true. Save a bit of pennies.
It feels good to be out here in the botanical gardens. We just had a sauna. Jamie, this is Jaime Wigley, by the way. I don't think I introduced yet.
I think you said my name, but Jaime Wigley.
Jaime Wigley, Mr. Wiggles. I like to start off the podcast with this question, and that is, what's keeping you thriving and what is thriving in your life today?
Keeping me thriving? I think having things to do every day. Like, I know everyone's got things to do, but have you got it structured in a certain way? Like, say, I like to keep my life nice and tidy with a list. What I plan on doing for the day, what I plan on eating for the day, gym schedules and such. And I feel like it just gives me a little bit of a guidance. Like, I've got my goals and all that sort of stuff that I aspire to, but to have that little list so you don't get too lost in like the years of what those things you plan on doing is. Diet, that's a big one. Waking up in the morning, whether I do a fast or not, I don't often fast, but most mornings I'll wait till I eat my food. So I'll wake up, I'll do a bit of breath work, I'll get in front of the red light, I drink my water, make sure I drink a lot. No phone in the morning. I do struggle with that a little bit because you've got Instagram and all that sort of stuff that you have a quick look, you take your phone off airplane mode, but like, we're only human and you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. So having that morning schedule definitely helps me into my day, and I'm a massive morning person. Like, I'll wake up early most mornings. It was sleep in this morning for me. I was about 6 a.m. But most mornings it's about between 4 and 5 o'clock, and that's just so I can get to the gym early before everyone else is there, get my exercises in, get my study and practice in, and start my day. And I've only just recently, actually last week, I got back into laying bricks after about 3 years, which was a little bit of a shock because I had businesses and I had employees and all that sort of stuff. So going back to the employee and focusing on what we're going to talk about today for the rest of my life, which I have been already for about four years now. I think I got into it. Stoney actually got me into it. We were running together, and he was talking about this guy, Paul Chek. So I had to check him out. And then I just fell in love with his work ever since. Like, I know they say you got to practice it yourself and all that sort of stuff, but he was saying it with such conviction. I was like, I just got to try this stuff myself. Like, why not?
He's pretty convincing, eh?
Oh, he's very convincing. And then when you do the shit yourself, like, you feel it. Like, you're eating the food, you feel good, you're doing the meditations, you're doing the exercise, you're working in, you're working out. Like, you definitely feel it as a person. And like, those maintaining that energy throughout the day, like using those tools to maintain, to work good, to study good, to get your mind in order, to have good relationships, whether it's with your spouse or friends. It all aligns together. If you're out of line with, say, sleep, then you're probably not going to have the energy levels for the day. Same thing with diet. Same thing if you're not hydrated. Like, they all go hand in hand together, and that's why he does it. That's why he's made the institute ultimately.
Yeah, and that's like, well, it's holistic and it's whole, like a wheel, like what Paul says. He's like, if a couple of spokes on that wheel are broken, he's like, you're not going anywhere quick.
No, you got a buckled wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we get into all the health stuff and what you're doing now, let's go back to, from when I remember you, from just out of school.
Little friar days.
Yeah, the bender days.
Porker used to call me young friar. I was actually thinking about that the other day.
Oh, God.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, those are some loose days, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Good memories, good, I
wouldn't change it.
Yeah, but it's good to be out of it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about what your mindset was like back then, what you were getting into, what you maybe thought you were trying to escape now looking back, or were you just trying to have fun? Yeah, like break down the paradigm of what your mindset was like back then.
So it's a bit hard. I had a great upbringing, like no childhood trauma as far as I remember. Like, I don't know if you've heard about Mark Wulin's book. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't remember what it's called.
But I've heard of him, but not
Wulin,
his book.
He talks about trauma. I guess he goes into all sorts of trauma, but he was saying that trauma can be 3 generations back. And now there's new studies out saying that it can go up to like 14 generations back.
Oh, so is that the body keeps the score? Is that what we'll talk about in the sauna?
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's another book that he's got.
It didn't start with you?
Didn't start with you. That's the one. Yeah. So, talking about childhood trauma, none of that, but previous lives potentially, or previous family members, like my great grandfather, grandmother, potentially. But I had a very addictive personality from a young age, I guess. Like, I always remembered I could never just have like one chocolate. I always had to have all the chocolates or all the cake or whatever. And that's still true today, but yeah, I've learnt to master it a little bit. So I guess we could take it back to say, like, the earliest memory I remember is like, so I do remember like early or late public school, I guess. I was just always a little troublemaker, and the teachers were always saying like that you just get told that you're not a good student, you're a slow learner, or you're a naughty, you're always talking out of class. But like, we're just young men, like full of energy, and we get sat down in this room, and you're not supposed to be sat down for, what is it, like 6 hours a day or something like that. You get your little breaks and stuff in between, but it's too much. So all that energy had to go somewhere. So I remember me and Jana, Mark, I remember in year 6, it was like our last day. We ended up lighting the toilets on fire. Oh. We just lit one on fire, but we got the toilet paper. We thought it was so cool, and we ran out. And luckily nothing ended up happening, but it all went out and it was all good. But just we were always causing trouble like that, and that sort of led on into high school. All the teachers are saying the same shit. I guess the public school teachers talk to the other high school public school teachers.
Wait, you did that in primary school, not high school?
Yeah, that was year 6.
Ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mark was pretty, he was a bit rebellious too. Yeah. He was a bit of an influence, old Jana. Yeah. God bless him. But yeah, that led on into year 7 and into high school. And I was just the same thing. Like, I was never sitting still. Like, I remember some classes I was all right, and that was usually relative to what the teacher was like. Like, if the teacher was a dickhead, I'd be a dickhead back to him or her. But there was some nicer teachers. I remember Mr. Did you go to Heathcote High? Yeah. Do you remember Mr. Weir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he was the only guy or teacher on my report card that's like, he said all this stuff like constantly distracted, yada yada yada, all that. It was pretty much the same from every other teacher too. But at the end he said, if Jamie focused on something in his life that he really loved, I'm sure he can amount to certain things. And like that really, I love that, hearing that sort of stuff, because I mean, you don't know it when you're like 15 or even 14, 15, 16. Or how old? I would have been like 12 or 11 going into high school, because I was a year young. So being so young and getting told all these things, like, you end up believing it all, don't you? Like, you're probably similar. I'm not 100% sure with your early days, but I believe they're pretty similar to mine.
Yeah,
right?
it's like you're taking on someone else's story of yourself.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, you live it out.
Yeah.
It's like because I've had like red eyes from my entire life, ended up being like gut issues and and such. But people from when I was like in year 3, before I even knew what weed was, people would call me a stoner.
Yeah.
And it's like, did I play that role out and become a stoner because of that, or was it just because of my where I was living and the availability of it around?
Yeah, all right.
I always think of that. I was like, which one is it? Probably a bit of both.
I reckon it's a bit of both for sure. Yeah, we're like being around, and I was talking to my parents about it the other day, because we plan on homeschooling my son Hayes. We'll talk about him a bit later too, because like you think, homeschooling, your kid's they're going to be secluded, they're not going to be able to socialise, all that sort of stuff. But realistically, like, when you put a kid into, say, year 6, year 7, year 8, even the earlier days, like, their majority influences kids that age. So, like, how old are they going to, like, what are they going to gain from other kids that are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6? Like, they're going to turn into little kids, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
They're not going to be surrounded by more adults. Still be surrounded by kids, but be around adults that are actually conscious about what's going into these kids' minds. Like, the majority of the teachers don't give a crap what we're thinking about. They get told what to teach, and they pretty much just follow suit. That's the indoctrination process, I guess, from a young age. Yeah, and like going back to school, that sort of led on throughout my high school years. Like, I was always jigging, smoking ciggies behind the basketball courts, just all the stuff you do. You thought you're cool, like going into the toilets and just hanging out there for some fucking weird reason. Yeah, just all the naughty guy stuff. Never causing like too much trouble, just a little bit of a rebel, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I was never like going to juvie and all that sort of shit. Like, I was never that naughty. But just going through that high school, the high school period, getting told you're not going to amount to anything, you're not smart, the list goes on. And then coming to the end of that, getting exposed to bricklaying. So that was pretty much the first thing that I got introduced to out of school. And I was like, yep, no, I may as well just go and do it. And then going into that game, that's even more toxic than the schooling system. Like, there's every second bricklayer you meet's a drugger or an alcoholic or smokes ciggies, doesn't look after his health, yada, yada, yada. So being exposed to that at a young age, I was like 15 when I left school.
And the chemicals too in the cement and stuff, hey?
Yeah, just thought it's all no good for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that or the hard labour that causes people to be alcoholics. It is a hard game, but I mean, it can go both ways. Like, you can mask yourself at the end of each week, or you can use each day as like, I got to exercise my body, so I'm going to go home and stretch and roll and eat healthy. So tomorrow that I'm energized and I heal and repair for the next day. So you can look at it like that, or you can look at it like, fuck, I've got to wake up and lay bricks again. So I'll smoke my ciggies and I'll have my dare iced coffee, and then I'll have a fucking donut, and then I'll feel like shit all day. And yeah, it goes on and on, doesn't it?
I don't know how some people can like have the energy to keep doing that. Like,
they get used to it.
If I have like a sandwich of bread at night, and the next day I'm so sluggish at work I can barely bend over.
Well, it's like what you're talking about. You had 2 dumplings the other day and your neck's sore. Like, people who have 2 dumplings or 20 dumplings, their neck's sore, their eyes are watery, and their nose is itchy, and they just think it's normal. So they'll go and have some sort of medication to fix
time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think much thought goes into everybody's life, and that's why we're here to spread the love, and hopefully we can impact a number of people through it. Not hopefully, I know we will.
Yeah.
Throughout our lives. So going back to that early days, that's when all the drinking and stuff started. Like, you got introduced to it, I guess. I remember Gilbo. You know Gilbo?
Yeah.
I think he stole a beer off his dad once, and we were down in the creek there, down near the Catholic school in Helensburgh, and we had it was a 4X Gold. And I remember I had a sip of that, and it was horrible. But that was when I was young. I would have been like 13 maybe, and I didn't have any other alcohol until I was probably like 15, I think. Because I always used to hang out with the guys that are a little bit older. So when I was 15, I was 17.
Yeah.
So got introduced to that, and it was pretty much every weekend we were doing pingers or just drinking sometimes. Like, when you first start drinking, you don't get introduced to the other party drugs. You just get introduced to the UDLs and the cruisers and such. So there was a few wild nights on them, but that was pretty much, the majority of our early days was doing that. You go to work, you spend all your money on the weekend on partying. Ultimately, it was pretty crazy. And like I said earlier, like I would never change it, because it's created the man who I am today. And also, I actually, it happened. What is it now? January. It was probably in November. We had buzzers. No, it was around about then. We had buzzers, Bucks party, and we got turn up for that. And that was pretty gnarly. Like, we played golf, had a bit of a party at golf, and then we went home. We camped actually. Went to bed at about 1, woke up at 6, and we went on a big canoe trip. It was like a 22k canoe trip, which was sick. Like, I didn't drink or anything, but we had a little bit of microdosing. It was pretty fun. And then that night after that, we were red raw. I didn't wear a hat, didn't wear sunnies, no sun cream. I don't wear sun cream anyway, but no sun protection, should I say. And I'm pretty tan myself, but I was sunburned as fuck. It was heavy. And then we went on to a bender. Oh. And then I didn't end up going to sleep until Sunday night.
Jeez. Yeah, I've been sunburnt and then bended, and it's horrible. It's the worst combination.
And man, I wasn't good for, like, because that was the first time in like that was coming up 2 years since I'd drank and done drugs that day. And because it was a good friend's bucks, it was a good reason to do it, I guess. But 2 weeks after that, I was slaughtered. I was not normal. My mind wasn't there. My body wasn't there. Like, it was horrible. So I sort of, from that day, I'm like, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
I've done it so many times. I might have a wine or a beer here and there, but it just does not interest me at all. I don't want to do it. I got others, like I'll have a coffee or I'll smoke a bit of pot or something like that. Like, that's my vice, if you will.
You got the volcano, don't you?
Yeah.
Sick.
So I don't smoke. It's a vaporizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you chop up the flour, you get it's like, Paul Chek calls it a popcorn popper. Like, the hot air blows through the herb, and there's a bag on top of it, catches all the vapor from the flower essence ultimately, and you enjoy that. So that's a good way to enjoy something more healthily.
Yeah.
If that's a word, healthily. More health conscious, in a more health conscious way, because when you combust things, it's obviously not good for your lungs, more carcinogenic. The list goes on.
Yeah, I don't know how Joe Rogan does it, and does
smoke
like
joints.
He's like fucking pumps down joints on almost every podcast, but then he's like working out like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it just does, like,
some people it can work for you.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest with you, because I've always been around pot, I've never considered myself a stoner, because I've never, say, woken up in the morning and got into it straight away. Very rarely, anyway.
Guilty.
I'm guilty of it too, but majority of the time it's after my day's complete, or in the afternoons at least. So, like, if I do have it, it's I know I've done my tasks for the day. I've achieved certain things that I wanted to achieve, and it's all right for me to relax and turn off. But even then, sometimes I realise that it could be a little bit early, say like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I realise it affects me a little bit, especially with the sun now, like energy levels and such. So I like to wait till a little bit later, until he's like sort of gone to bed, and then have it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And use it to sort of switch your brain off, because I feel like my mind, I don't know, you're probably the same. I feel like we'd be pretty similar, but it just does not switch off. It just, like last night I went to bed reading, because I started HLC1, went to bed reading some of the stuff, and my dreams, that's all my dreams were. I remember I was just talking about the certain things in it, and I can't remember who was in it. I think maybe Glenn McLeod was in it, and we were talking to, and there was another guy. I think the guy that the new guy from work, or I'm the new guy from work, but the new guy that I started working with, he was in it too, and I was telling Glenn, I was like, the holistic health practitioners, they're so much better than doctors, and I respect them so much more. Yeah, not that I don't respect doctors, like they have their place and they're very important in our world too. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, so let's switch gears onto. I know you mentioned Stoney got you into Paul Chek.
Yeah.
Was that the turning point in your health journey, or was there something that happened along the way that really catapulted your mindset into changing?
So even from a young age, like even though I partied and stuff, I sort of got into boxing the same time that I left work. So I guess that you could say that was the start of my health journey. Like I always loved doing that, and then I got into kickboxing too, and that was sort of keeping me in line in a sense. Like I had that thing to strive towards. Like it was something that I was getting better at and looking forward to, rather than say just I was working and then on the weekend I was just up the pub. I was living up the pub. It wasn't like that. Like there was always stuff to sort of look forward to. So that was probably the main thing that started it. And I was always like, did you go to Gleno's gym up at the Glen Stibbard's?
No.
So that he had that set up for a bit, and that was pretty cool because I wasn't really into the whole 24-hour gym. Not that there was one around Berg. He was like the main person in Berg that had gym. So he had a mad setup there. There was goats and sheep walking around, chickens and all that sort of stuff. So it was pretty cool.
Was that the fitness farm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the fitness farm. So that was a pretty cool spot. A bit dirty here and there, but like it was a sweet spot for it. And like no one would be out there, or if you did see other people there, it was like your mates, so you can go and have a session with them.
Yeah.
So that was a bit. But I never incorporated the diet stuff. So it was always training, but then I thought healthy was like, say, having Uncle Ben's microwave rice with like tuna in a tin with canola oil, or just that was my healthy, which now I look back at that and have a little bit of a giggle, but like that's the start of the journey, isn't it? You got to learn from somewhere, and the stepping stones got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think I was the same, eating tuna and rice like with avocado for lunch.
Yeah,
that was
not
healthy.
that is in a sense
it can be healthy. Yeah.
Can be healthy. You can make it healthy using all organic ingredients and like humanely sourced fish.
I was just buying those packet rice microwave things. Oh.
Uncle Ben's.
Just dead food.
Yeah, they fucking, if you leave them in the cupboard for too long, they start crawling away.
Dude.
So going from that was like the start of it. But then went like I said previously, when Stoney talked about Paul Chek, I had to check him out, and then got so deep into it pretty much straight away. Got How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy probably like 4 years ago. And since then, I've just been really, really practicing what's in that book. Because like you can get the book and you can read it, but if you don't apply it to your life, it's not going to mean much, really. So I've been applying the 4 doctors, 6 foundational principles as well as I can. I'm starting to dive into them a lot deeper now, which is even cooler. So that started, what am I now, 27, 28 nearly. Yeah, that's probably around 23, 24 that started. And that led me on to who and where I am today. It was pretty cool. It's a hard one to say. Like we're talking about, was there any like main factors that did change my view? And going back to bricklaying, and I talked to a lot of people. This was my main reason why I got out of it, actually. I got back into it again, but one of my main reasons I got out of it was I used those people as like my mentors in a negative way, if you will. Like I looked at certain people and said, "Oh wow, he's only 40 and he looks like that and he feels like that every day." Like fuck that, I don't want to be like that for shit.
Yeah. Everyone can be a teacher
Yeah.
if you let them.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%. Rather than looking at him going, "Oh, what a fat cunt," or whatever. I looked at him and said, "Okay, I don't want to be like that person. I don't want to be struggling with financially, for say." So yeah, I decided to change my opinion on life, I guess. I learned about money. I learned about the stock market, crypto market. Ended up being a little bit successful in that early days. Lost a shitload of money, made a shitload of money, lost a shitload of money. um, and then it sort of, built. It went hand in hand with the health journey, I think. Like, I was thinking, like, if I want to be financially stable, say, and be a successful person and have employees, I need to be the best version of myself that I can be. Like, I need to be as healthy as possible, because I witnessed bosses not being like that. Like, they'd come to work and they'd shed everything that they got at home, say.
Yeah.
So they'd yell at everybody else, whereas they didn't take that on and understand what was going on internally. They'd rather, I guess, emit that negative frequency onto everybody else there. And I guess that's typical in the tradie industry too. Like, I'm not the only one that's happened to. So yeah, I've witnessed that sort of stuff happening and just realized that I don't want to be that person. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, so you mentioned some mentors and some teachers, negative ones and positive ones. Yeah, I'd just like to say, Stoney was the same person that got me into Paul Chek as well back in the day. Like, I remember him just rocking up and opening this book and just showing me, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's like food, it's diet, it's movement, it's meditation, and sleep as well. And
most important thing, sleep.
Yeah. That's probably one of the ones that I struggle with a little bit, is getting enough sleep.
Yeah, it's hard, eh?
So let's switch gears on to Paul Chek, actually, because Paul Chek's been a name that keeps continually throwing around in the circles. His name keeps popping up.
Yep.
And for good reason. I've got his book here, the How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy book, and I've been diving into that for about 4 years now, and really just started, well, it does start on the diet side, but I really drilled that in, the diet side of it, for about 2 years. I'm still getting a handle on it.
Oh, I think it's a never-ending journey too.
Yeah, and then transitioning into the movement stuff, and then I actually had an injury. I thought it was a wrist and elbow injury, and then it was lasting for about 4 to 6 months, I'm pretty sure, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I ended up going and seeing one of the higher Czech practitioners in Cronulla, Matt Sorensen at True Woo there.
Yep.
And he was like touching my back and my neck, and he's like, "Oh no, it's not your wrist, it's not your elbow, it's like up here in your neck."
Yeah.
And then I told him all these stories. I was like in a car crash,
yeah.
And I also dove once into the beach. It was like so shallow, I didn't realise, and crunched my neck. Oof. And ended up being a micro trauma in my neck, and he put a bunch of dry needles in my neck, and it fixed literally in a week. My wrist and elbow pain that was there for 6 months was gone. And then he gave me the work-in exercises that were out of Paul Chek's book to continue that and let it heal. And
yeah, you got to put the work in too, right? You can go and see these master healers like Matt, but if you're not putting the work in, that's the pain teacher's gonna come and tap you on the shoulder. Like, he's gonna come around and make sure you're in line, especially if you're meant to be in that field, say, like eventually to be someone like Matt Sorensen. I feel like the pain teacher taps you on the shoulder a little bit more than the average person. They let you know about things, because that's how you learn. Like, we're going to talk about parasite and fungal infections. Like, the reason why I got so into that is because I struggled with it, and I still do today. Like, it's a very constant battle, and that's sort of been around since I was young. I think to be honest with you, I think it's from the partying days, a lot of it. That's where it sort of stemmed from. And now I'm paying for it. Well, not paying for it, but learning from it today. And for the past few years.
Yeah, and what type of foods set it off and everything.
Yeah, what type of foods they like, environment. Like, I notice if I'm getting a bit stressed out, that's a big factor. Like, there's so many different factors that are in play, which is so important. Why it's so important to focus on the fundamentals of everything, or the everything health, should I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you've done the fungal and parasite cleanse
Yep.
course with Paul Chek,
Yeah.
or at the Chek Institute.
Yeah.
And that's when you say, if you get the How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy book, that's one of the first things that you do is you do a cleanse before you start doing the diet thing. So
Yep.
do you want to break down why people would start with the cleanse, fungal and parasite? What are some of the symptoms people might be facing if they've got issues like that?
Yep.
And how can we remedy that as well?
So a lot of it, and actually sort of like it's good to go on a cleanse first, like diet wise, clean up your diet. I wouldn't say, because my dad's friend right now, he's gone on like a 3-week water fast, but his diet was crap, like shit. And he's been on the lounge for nearly 3 weeks now with swollen joints and everything. So like that toxic fat that he's burning off is leaching into, say, his joints and all that sort of stuff. And it's inflaming his body. So the number one thing to, say, heal from these things or start the healing journey would be cleaning up your diet, cleaning up your sleep, cleaning up the quality of water that you are drinking, because that goes into it very, very much so. Like chlorinated, fluoride-filled water, tap water, it's not good. Sits in the pipes and whatnot. And I think even my water filter, I need to get a little bit of. Have you heard of the reverse osmosis water filters? They're quite exy, like they're like $4 or $5 grand, but I think investing in one of them's a must. But water's a tough one, because like you can go all the way. You can get spring water, but then they put it in plastic bottles. So you're like, it's a tough one. But I mean, each to their own. And if you figure out what works well for your body when it is filtered water, I think that's a big one too, because the mind plays a massive role in it. Like, you can be eating healthy and all that sort of stuff, but if your mind's not there, which is stressing you out and such, these parasites and fungal infections can stick around. They can stay there. So it can be emotional too. And they talk about in that course pretty much the fundamental things to heal from them would be the 4 doctors, which is Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, and then in turn Dr. Happiness, and the 6 foundation principles, which are thinking, breathing and moving, and nutrition, hydration and sleeping. And those things, they pretty much tie in with the 4 doctors too. So if you're on top of all those things, usually there's no imbalance within your body, and usually you will be in full health. But it only takes one of those things to sort of start snowballing and rolling downhill. Like, if you're eating healthy and drinking all the water and you're moving your body, but then you're only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night, like that parasite's hanging around, that fungal infection's going to hang around. If you're cutting out sugar, cutting out carbs, cutting out all the simple carbs, that is, you can still have certain carbohydrates, the more complex ones, but cutting out all that stuff, but then you're having, say, coffee, they can stick around. So you got to be very strict with them especially at the start, and for quite a while. It's got to be like a whole lifestyle change sort of thing. Like you can't
starving them out, like
pretty much, yeah. So you got to starve them out for. It depends on the certain ones. Like some of them can live for 2 weeks, some for 3 weeks. These are more or less parasites. Fungal's a little bit different, but it's the same, because the fungal infections actually feed on the smaller parasites, which I learnt. I actually was listening to a podcast and I learnt that the other day, which is very, very interesting. And then if you're putting these foods in your body, which are like the sugars and the carbohydrates, which turn into sugars that feed the fungal, the parasites aren't getting hunted by the fungal. So if you're feeding the fungal infection, these parasites can run more rampant, which can cause more issues with joints. You can have fatigue. You can have hormonal issues, like the list goes on. And a lot of things people don't think about, like, say, I mean, in our circle they do now, but like chlorinated pools, like they're like a feeding ground, a breeding ground, should I say, for all these parasites and such. Because you got not only because it's a chlorinated pool, which soaks into your body, and causes more impact on on all the systems within your body, but also you got people pissing. You got sometimes kids do shits in the pools,
Yeah.
and that's whatever's in that child is now in that pool, and then you're jumping in that pool, which is going into you. So it's like, yeah, you got to be very cautious about where you put your body and what fluid medium you're soaking your body in. That goes a long way. So there's so many different factors, and it can be hard at times for people, because it's like you tell them, oh, you need to sleep right, or you need to eat healthy, you need to stay hydrated with filtered water, but they don't have any of these things, nor the person to tell them what or how to do it. It can be very stressful. So I think the biggest thing that you can do, which doesn't make it too complex, is focusing on your diet. And my missus always says it's not always about diet, but I full on think it really is like the main thing. Like, if you're eating healthy, you're going to be more energized. You're going to be more likely you go to the gym, say. You're going to be more likely to grab that book and read that book, which is going to further inform you about healthy food choices or what diet type you may be. The list can go on with that, but keeping on top of your diet is probably the number one thing, and then it will snowball from that. But saying that, you could also do it with, say, exercise. But then again, if you're not eating right and you're exercising too much, you can be very unhealthy, and that's adding too much stress, because people think exercise is go to a HIIT class every day, but realistically, you shouldn't be stressing out your body that much, because when you're exercising, that's ultimately what you're doing. You're putting your body under stress. So to put your body under that much stress that many times a week is not right, and that will invite even more fungal and parasite infections if you continue to live that way. And it takes a long time. Like, it takes, like, what do they say? Cancer takes like 15, 20 years to actually grow. Like, it's consistency. So you won't get healthy eating 3 organic home cooked meals. Like, it takes a long time. So consistency is key. So pretty much what I'm saying is focus on your diet and the 4 doctors ultimately. So Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, and Dr. Happiness. And to put them in simple terms, it's make sure you eat organic whole foods. Don't eat packaged stuff. If you are to eat the packaged stuff, read the packet. At least try and make it organic. But even the organic stuff's got canola oils or sunflower oils or stabilizers or things that aren't real food. So it'll still cause havoc.
The grass, generally regarded as safe. Yeah, that umbrella, the term I was saying that with Therese on the podcast. It's like, it may be generally regarded as safe, but when it's in every single food, it's no longer a microdose. It's a macrodose that you're having every single day with every single meal.
And the same philosophy goes, consistency. If you're consistent with all those little things, like, it's going to wreak havoc within your body. Yeah.
So how are the two linked, the fungal and parasite? Because, like you said, they feed off each other, right? So how would you be feeding a fungal infection, and how would you be feeding a parasite infection? So
they're both very similar as far as I know. I learn a lot more about, say, fungal, but they're always within our body already. So we're made up of like 100 trillion cells, I think they were saying, and 90 trillion of them are fungal and parasite. A lot of them they're microscopic, obviously, you can't see them. But we're predominantly made up of them. And to live a healthy, balanced life is to keep those two things in balance, the parasites and the fungal. If one go rampant, that's usually from some sort of environmental stress or diet stresses or sleeping or exercising too much. So, like I was saying previously, fungal usually feeds off the foods that you put into your body. So, and you could even say eczema, that's usually a fungal infection. A lot of cancers, I was reading in Doug Kaufman's book that he was talking about cancer is pretty much fungal, like lung cancer is fungal. And he was also talking about postnatal depression being fungal. So like a fungal overgrowth within the woman's body, which then causes them to go into that depression after such a process. So I feel fungal is more or less the foods that you're putting into your body. And a parasite can be anywhere from, say, going to the wrong jungle and catching the parasite, or it can be from the same sort of thing, just living in dysbiosis and living in an imbalanced lifestyle. So that they both feed off very similar things. Hence why you sort of treat them in similar ways through diet and lifestyle choices. And the main way to pretty much say if you do have a fungal infection or symptoms, or same with parasite, the best way to fight both of them, as far as I've studied, is to go about it in an anti-fungal diet, which is similar to anti-parasitic diet too. So no underground vegetables. You can have carrots, but not cooked, because when you cook them, they go higher on the glycemic index. No sugars, no simple carbs, so no bread, no wheat, no grains. They do say you can have some nuts, but each to their own too. Like I found I can't have any of them because they're also a lot of fungal on nuts, especially peanuts. You probably heard moldy peanuts are usually pretty moldy. Same with grains. Like if you're eating grains, a lot of especially if they're not organic, a lot of these grains sit in silos. So and then in the silos they grow fungal. Yeah,
build moisture.
Yeah, they have fungal infections within them, and then they're constantly spraying them. So if you're eating these foods that are constantly getting sprayed and such, and then we're putting them into our bodies, like that's going to create an imbalance, and then it makes it harder for us to fight off these things. So they're going to live easier ultimately. And then also antibiotics are probably the number one cause for these things, and this is going off the course obviously. So like when you have an antibiotic, which pretty much means anti-life, you're killing everything within your body. So, and the ones that usually survive the antibiotic are the ones that you don't really want too much of in your body. So you're pretty much digging yourself in an early grave having those things, and not living in balance with the four doctors.
It's interesting. Like I had a skin condition pretty much for about 6 months last year, and I kept questioning. I was like, "What is it? Why is this not going away?" I kept trying to put things on my skin, and then realizing that when I moved up the Hunter Valley, I was like, because I was off dairy for years, and off bread, and then I sort of had yogurt, and I was like, "Oh, my body can handle that."
Yeah.
Then I started having cheese.
Yeah.
I was like, "Sweet, I can pass easily." I was like, "This is working good." And then all of a sudden, all these skin issues came up, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just going to go back to basics, cut everything out." Got off the dairy, got off the bread, got off all that sort of stuff. And then within about a week, my skin conditions sort of cleared up, and I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, it's crazy. And then they're like all the things that you just said, like that's in the 90% of people, 95, not even 99% of people's diets. But it's all it's not the good stuff, so it's even worse. But even then, like you have organic or biodynamic cheeses like that. The same with me. Like I get affected from that, or even having raw dairy. Same thing. Like I get affected by it. I feel like I can have goat's cheese. The on a probiotic level, it's a lot better for your gut. And I think they were saying goat's milk's the most similar to human mother's milk.
Yeah,
they were saying.
Yeah, well, so, I can really handle goat's milk because I can get it available up there in the Hunter Valley, just from one of the properties up there, and straight from the boob into a big glass jar, take it home, put it in a smoothie or something. And that's so good.
That's real food. That's like healing foods. That's what we need in our life to live in balance. We need these whole foods. We need clean water. Like I'll say it 100,000 times. Like it's the most basic stuff.
Yeah,
and that's the fundamentals to live this healthy life. Like I've talked to Chek practitioners of 20 years. I was talking to one the other day. I'm doing a mentorship with a couple of them, Nick and Carl. Nick, what's his last name? can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not very good with it, but I know him as Nick and Carl. Have you heard of Raven Wellness? That's
No.
Carl, and then Nick is I think he just goes off his name, but I can't remember his last name. Anyway, as I was saying, because I was talking about him, because I'm in the process of taking on clients and such, and they were saying the majority, pretty much 90% of their clients over the years that they've done it, they grab How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. They run through the 4 doctors with them. And that's for 4 months, for 6 months, for a year. They really get those fundamentals down pat. And I just started doing HLC1. And he's the same thing. Paul Chek was saying he started... It used to just be Chek practitioners, like I think it was Chek 1, 2, 3, and 4, but now it's IMS 1, 2, 3, 4, and HLC 1, 2, 3. Is there? I don't know if there's a 4.
I think it's 3. Yeah.
3, just 3. So there's them 3, and then IMS up to 5 actually. IMS. Yeah. So he's decided to split them. But the reason why he done that is because the people doing the Chek practitioner courses, they weren't embodying his practices. Like, they were unhealthy people coming in to teach other people how to eat and move and be healthy. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if some fat fucking PT come and told me to do push-ups, I'm like, what do you do push-ups?
Yeah.
You got to do push-ups.
Embody it.
Yeah, you got to embody it.
Like what Paul says is, like, if your coach or if your practitioner is not comfortable by standing in front of you naked, then you need to find yourself a new practitioner.
And they got to embody it. And you do feel that too. Like, you know, if someone's living the life, like, you can definitely feel it. I definitely feel it. So I can't remember where I was going with that, but ultimately you got to embody that healthy life. And I've experienced it too. Like, when I first started learning about it, I was telling Mum, I was telling Dad, I was telling my brother, I was telling everyone, you need to eat like this, you've got to cut that out, No one will listen to you.
Yeah.
But now that you live it for 4 years, pretty much strict, people do start to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, it does take a long time, but people start to reach out to you. And I've had so many people, even just posted on Instagram a little bit more now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to post a lot more now, actually. But I've had multiple people just ask me about, they've got a gut dysbiosis, so what's the best foods to have, or what's the best thing? And I just simply send them Paul Chek's diet questionnaire, which diet type they are. I've written up my own little sort of Australian version of the 4-day rotational diet, and then also give them a questionnaire about their stresses, which is in How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. So then people have at least a guideline of what to go off. Like, I'm a polar type, so I like more proteins. Or I'm an equatorial type, so I need more carbohydrates in my diet. So them two things alone, or knowing that certain thing alone, is so important for people. Because, like, you can get told what to eat. You can get told you need to go on keto, or you're vegetarian, or you're vegan, or whatever. But, like, if that doesn't feel right for you, it's not going to work for you. Or if it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for you.
Well, that's why Paul calls it the no diet.
Yeah.
Because it's suited and catered for you
for
specifically.
Each individual person. Like, what works for me won't work for you.
So let's break down because some people listening probably won't know what the equatorial type or the polar types are. So do you want to explain a little bit on what that means?
So in simple terms, polar type is the poles, so North and South Pole. So they're people that are usually living in colder climates, so they don't have access to the more carbohydrates like vegetables and such.
And somewhere where the ground like freezes over in winter.
So they have maybe access to more fish, more fats, and that sort of stuff. So that's polar type, and equatorial is the more hotter climates. So Aboriginals were equatorial. They ate predominantly plants, sometimes grubs and such if they were available. They would have still eaten proteins, don't get me wrong, but it was majority plant foods, like they were foragers. And then there's variable, which is somewhere in between. So like your mum could be Eskimo, and then your dad's an Aboriginal. Yeah. And then they mate and create you, so it could be somewhere in the middle. Yeah. That's the easiest way that I explain it anyway. Yeah. So that's...
So you said you're polar type?
I'm polar, definitely. And I run so well off proteins and fats. Like I'll go and have a chunk of butter out of the fridge and I'm good. That's my snack.
Yeah, I'm the same as well.
Yeah.
Ghee for me because, like I said, I had to cut out the dairy in the milk that's in the butter.
Yeah.
I
tried to make ghee the other day actually and fucked it. It was so fucked because the butter. My missus was so angry at me too. It was only $40, but the butter it says it's cultured butter, but it's raw butter.
Yeah.
And it's in a big tub, $40. Pretty much down the pisser. I just left it for a bit and I was doing other things. That's my mind. I'll do one thing and then go on to the other thing and get so focused on it and then, oh, what's that smell? It's burnt ghee.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm the same. I try to multitask.
So do you find ghee's better?
Yeah, ghee's a lot better for
you?
Yeah. I can have a bit of butter in my coffees and stuff, but if I have it too frequently, it really starts to affect me.
Yeah.
Mainly my nose will get like sinusy and running, and my eyes will get itchy.
Yeah.
If I have too much dairy, then actually when I'm passing, it fucking starts to hurt.
Yeah. But or you can get constipated.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
But then that depends on each person, because like you could be an equatorial type and then eating predominantly meat foods because you get told about Paul Saladino and then like you're like, well, this doesn't fucking work either.
Yeah.
And then you go, it takes a long time. But what I did when I first started, I found out I was polar, and I did the test a couple of times and I was like definite. And then I tried the equatorial type and then I was getting bloated and shit. And then even last night actually I noticed I didn't have any meat. And I had a lot of eggs. It was made like an omelette thing, but lots of veggies and eggs. And I even noticed this morning, like I woke up and I did a more sloppier poo. Yeah. Like it was because I ate more vegetables, and I could just tell straight away. So I need to have that protein I need to have that meat pretty much in every single meal. And all my meals look the same too. It's very, very much the same. Like it's either chicken, beef, lamb. I have duck sometimes, goat sometimes. But it's like if I have those foods, I try to rotate them. A lot of the time, sometimes it's hard because you got like a kilo of frozen beef, so you just have beef for a couple of days or something like that.
So let's talk about the rotational diet, because that's where I sort of struggle with. Like you said, you've got all this meat, and you make leftovers, and you're like, I don't really like freezing the leftovers and then thawing it back out and heating it back up. It's if you're going to be rotational, like, you have to do your meal preps.
And in a sense you do. It's a fine line, I think. Like I'll have like chicken wings that I get out, and then I'll try and have chicken for a couple of days. So the best way I pretty much do it, if I am following this, and it's sort of like natural now. Like I did try and follow it. I did try and follow it off being real strict with it, but then you end up just flowing with it. Like you're trying to force anything, usually it doesn't. With me, it's very hard to force things. So
and then it becomes a stress.
It needs, exactly. So I like to, it's dinner. Say Sunday night you cook dinner, and then you'll have the leftovers for breakfast, and then for lunch you may have another meal, and then you follow that on you can have it, say, I try and have, if the same meat, he says 2 times, but if you got to have it 3 times, like, so be it. As long as you're getting that variety in your diet. It's ultimately the rotational diets to get variety. So you have different foods within your diet. So you're having the chicken, then you're having the goat, then you're having the beef, then you're going to have the duck or the venison, whatever it may be. And to have all those different types, so you're getting all those different types of nutrients within your body. And the same goes for veggies. Like you have more broccoli one time with some carrots, and then the next time you have tomato and cucumber. And on the rotational diet in How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy, the reason why I did like an Australian version for myself is because I didn't even know where to get majority of the foods on there. Like if you've probably noticed that a lot of the foods on there, like
some of the stuff I've never even heard of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, and it's created that those foods on there. The reason why there's so much variety is because they are the same protein type. So on a cellular level or something like that, they're very similar. So it is like you're getting the same sort of nutrients from different foods, and that's the reason why you rotate them, because all the different rotation days are different protein types.
Yeah, and you're not then by doing that, you're not building up the toxicity in your body,
Yeah.
and you're not backing up your intestines
Yep.
with the same.
The same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you wouldn't do chicken and then quail and then duck.
Yeah,
Which is like,
because it's the same protein type or
Yeah.
the same food type. So
Yeah.
on that, you'll have either one of them foods on that day, and then the next day you might have either like beef or lamb or something similar to the red meats.
Yeah.
And then like the fish foods, you have similar fish foods. You can have squid or trout or whatever, salmon.
Yeah.
Like usually, I try not to eat. I don't eat too much fish anymore. Not sure. Like you hear about it being like there's a lot of. It's just hard to trust the fisheries, I guess, and the fish industry, and then also when you know about how much stuff they chuck into the oceans and what they have been doing to the oceans, like it's hard to trust any of it. But when I do, I like to get this. It's like wild caught salmon from Canada.
Yeah.
And that's pretty nice that I get.
Who do you get that through?
Just from the local organic store down at Kiama, Souls.
Yep.
Heart and Soul Organics, which is pretty good. And then sometimes he's got a lot of the meats there just from a local. I think it's called David's Larder or something like that. He's like an organic butcher.
Yeah,
or
I know the
organic.
one.
Yeah.
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 I use Butcher Crowd. It's a delivery service
Oh, yeah,
because
cool.
it's out in the country. It's
Yeah.
real hard to get fish out there.
Yeah.
So we were buying the meat, but then there's been a really cool butcher that just opened up that's got all regenerative raised meat, pasture raised meat. So we now just predominantly get our seafood from Butcher Crowd.
Yep.
Gets delivered every fortnight.
Yeah,
we get like salmon and prawns, and yeah, it's really good quality stuff.
How good's that?
So let's talk a little bit now about the 6 foundational principles then.
Yep.
Do you want to break down what they are and how you can incorporate them into your life?
So the the easiest, simplest way. So it's nutrition, hydration, and sleeping. So nutrition and hydration, that is doctor diet. So like, what are you putting into your body, and are you staying hydrated? And you can stay hydrated through, say, like coconut water or other sort of bottled sources, but you got to make sure try and make sure it's top quality. Like it's going to take a bit of time to do all this. And then, so that was nutrition and hydration. And then sleep and think. I put them under, was it sleeping and thinking? Or sleeping and sleeping and breathing. I put them under Dr. Quiet, which is like, you can use your breath to enhance energy too, but you can also use your breath, say, through like meditation and such. So that's Dr. Quiet. Like, are you taking time for yourself? Are you sitting down in the mornings and breathing and taking a little bit of time, not on your phone and not on the computer and not worrying about your day's work, just being present with yourself? And so that was nutrition, hydration, and then sleeping and breathing. And then thinking's a bit of a, I guess it can be the same thing. It can be like, you can think negatively, and then it can be put under another category, or you can think positively and it can be put under another category. But I think thinking can be incorporated into Dr. Quiet too, but it also can be incorporated into Dr. Diet, and then it can also be incorporated into the movement, and then in term that brings the happiness.
Yeah.
But so like thinking is a massive part of it. And I've always talked about thinking being a part of your diet too, because like you can think all these negative thoughts but be eating all these positive foods, and it's going to impact you majorly, I believe. And then so that was nutrition, hydration, sleeping, breathing, thinking, and movement. And they're the six principles. So movement obviously is the same as Dr. Movement, and that is pretty, you don't need to go exercise. Like you can move by just going for a walk, and that can be incorporated as a walking meditation. You can power walk, like you can use the working in principles to do that. So you get a Swiss ball and you just play around on that. Even if you don't need to know all these different moves and such. What's taught me this too, like I was learning all the zone exercises like off by heart and making sure I was doing them all, but then I lost my how to eat, move and be healthy book recently. It'll come back. I do know this. Either that or I've got to get another one.
I've got it in PDF form if you want me to send it to you.
Oh, no, it's all good. I'll find it. Don't worry. It'll come back to me. And then just having these things and moving your body in certain ways that feels good. It's like you can have all these stretches and stuff that you go to, and it's very important to know how to stretch certain parts of the body, I do believe. But also just like jumping on the Swiss ball and like relaxing your back and like opening yourself up and laying down flat prone on the body, on the ball, and moving yourself around on that, and just getting to know your own body and what feels good within it, moving it. Like you don't need to go in that HIIT workout. Like I feel like exercise the way that or moving the body the way that a lot of people incorporate that into their minds is that you need to exercise for say, and it doesn't need to be like that. So ultimately the best way to incorporate the 6 foundation principles, in my opinion, and the way that I've simplified it, is to go back to the 4 doctors and focus on them mainly, because I'm not 100%, I guess they are sort of stemmed from each other in a way, and there's a reason why there's the 4 doctors and the 6 foundation of principles. But what helps me is the 4 doctors mainly. And like I've got my sheet that I stick in front of it's in the mirror in the bathroom, and it's got Dr. Diet and all the things that I can do for Dr. Diet. It's got Dr. Quiet, all the things I can potentially do for Dr. Quiet. Dr. Movement, same thing. Dr. Happiness, same thing. So having a look at that and knowing it, and you end up engraving it into your subconscious mind. Yeah. And this is one of my other mentors, Napoleon Hill. Have you heard of Napoleon Hill? No. Think and Grow Rich. He's
I've seen you posted on your Instagram.
Yeah, so he's got the 13 principles off the top of my head. I can't remember them all. They get put on the spot. But ultimately, he's a master of his own mind, and he's got 13 principles that you can follow to do all that stuff. But he's also got like one of them the subconscious mind or an auto suggestion, which go in hand. So you read out certain passages that you write to yourself. So like say, I, Jaime Wigley, am wealthy, healthy, happy, and whole. And if you've got that passage that you either got it on your phone in your notes that you can flick out, rather than go on Instagram, read that out to yourself 10 times. So those things, and you can use that to incorporate into your diet, like Dr. Diet. What foods do I need to eat personally for me to be my healthiest in Dr. Diet? And you use that philosophy throughout the 4 doctors, and you can use the same philosophy throughout the 6 foundation principles. And it all sort of ties in together. Eventually it becomes normal, and I guess now that I look at it, it's not like nothing special. Like I used to think of it like, wow, it's going to be so hard to do all that stuff. But then it just becomes second nature. Yeah. And it's not like it is special anymore. And then you're on to the next thing, and you get deeper, and you start learning about all this new stuff. You're like, oh, fuck, I didn't know anything now. Yeah. Like as far as I'm concerned, I know fuck all. Seriously. And like I've got so much more to learn, and I've got so much more to go. And I've got full faith in that I know that everything that I put my mind to, I can achieve. Yeah. And that's that comes from Napoleon Hill's philosophy, like positive self-talk. You got to believe it before you can. What you put into your mind, if you can't see it, within your own mind, then it's very unlikely that it's going to come into reality and manifest into physical. So whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Yeah.
And it's funny you actually say that. It just reminds me the other day, I was like so keen for the sauna. I was like thinking about it all day at work. And then I get to the sauna, it was like pissing down rain, lightning, storm. And I said to myself, I was like, I betcha there's going to be a blackout and I won't even be able to get in the sauna. I went, got changed, I got my towel, started walking out, and what happens? A blackout. And I was like...
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Yeah. But going back to the work-ins, like...
I think you would have done it, yeah.
Going back to the work-in exercises, like, for instance, I sit on a ride-on lawnmower. Yep. So my shoulders are rolled in, I'm on, like, got the handles, so I'm like... What's it called when you're like... it's like hyperextension is back, right?
Yeah.
And then hyperflexion's forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hyperflexed.
Yeah, just flexed too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm forward, like rolled forward a lot most of the day. So then my working exercises are the
Lots
opposite.
of flexion.
Yeah, so I get on the Swiss ball and I'm going backwards, opening my rib cage up, opening
so
my
like
shoulders.
the Swiss ball crunch would be good. Like
Yeah,
that can be exercise and a working in exercise too, depending on your heart rate.
Like you
same.
can, like you do, use your dumbbell and that's your
Yeah, that's a
workout. But then you
workout.
can get rid of the dumbbell and just roll around on the ball like that.
Yeah, you can just roll around and whatever feels good. And that's the same thing when you're prescribing certain exercises to people. Say if you're working with like a landscaper, say, where they're constantly working certain muscles. Usually to incorporate within their exercise would be muscles that they're not working, or if they're flexing all the time, say with a pickaxe, with their obliques, to do certain flexion exercises to counteract that all day. So pretty much if you're what you're doing is spot on. Like if you're always hunched over, like I'm very hunched over too from boxing. Just like the stance in boxing, and then bricklaying too, same thing. So it feels amazing for me to like stretch out and roll over that ball and just lay there for a bit and breathe, and you sort of just move and you find like different spots that just feel good. Also doing pec minor and major stretches, that feels awesome because it's the same sort of thing. It's like incorporating that rather than being flexed a lot. But yeah, that's so important.
So, a lot of the people listening, or not a lot of, but some of the people listening might not really understand a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. So if you're interested in finding out what all these things are in further depth, then I advise go and look at Paul Chek on Instagram or YouTube. Or if you want to go in depth to it even further, then pick up the How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy book. Or go and follow our man here, Jaime Wigley.
Follow me.
Yeah, he's got all the good stuff. So let's switch gears now, because you're newly a father, just like me.
I sure am. Nearly 10 months now.
Yeah, so tell me about the process of leading up to the birth.
Yep.
What you guys were doing, what you were going through, and creating that birth space, and then tell us about the birth story as well. Like, how'd that go?
So I'll start off when I met Taylor, because we've only been together for it's like 2 and a bit years now. So it hasn't been a super long time, but the way that we met each other was like divine timing and manifestation, if you will. Like we both wrote out certain things that we wanted in our ideal partner. Everything that I wrote out that she is. Yeah. And then same thing for maybe a couple of different things. Like I think she wanted someone a bit taller. Seriously. But because she was into taller guys, I guess. But then I came around and she's got faith in smaller guys now, or just me anyway. So pretty much all the things on her passage was in me too. So we connected like straight away, and we resonated on pretty much all levels, except for she was a vegan at the start. Now she's eating meat and stuff, but you hang around with me enough and you'll start eating meat, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we met down in Kiama, moved down there. I ended up seeing her consistently. It was pretty much due to the COVID lockdowns. We couldn't hang out with anyone else around there, and like people from Gerringong weren't coming up, if you're following the rules. So she lived pretty much just 2 minutes down the road. So we'd go to the rock pool all the time. Ended up loving each other, and then fast forward a year or so and we fell pregnant. It was a bit of a surprise, but a very welcome surprise. And as soon as we found that out, it was like Taylor's done a lot of work too on herself, and she's mentored other women to embody their feminine. So Taylor's very, very in tune with her own body, and she's done a lot of practices. She's a yoga teacher. Travelled around India and learnt the Indian philosophy, so that's very spiritual, and you end up being very in tune with your own body and mind if you follow that sort of principles, I guess. So we decided to learn a lot more about it, and Taylor learnt a shitload more than I did. Being a woman, you probably would, but she dove so deep into like the birthing, home birth. She reached out to certain women. We ended up doing a birthing course through She Birth. So good. We're on her podcast actually, so the birth story's on there too at She Births. I think it is.
Yeah,
it's
I'll listen
She
to that
Births.
one.
Yeah, pretty cool. So. And she's changed in the world of birth. Like as you know, like women, a lot of the women that do give birth in hospitals. Not saying that hospitals are not a place for it, because sometimes they are. But a lot of the time, women are traumatized when they leave there. They give say if a certain woman's giving birth, they may introduce some certain drugs to help that process, but then it ends up actually putting the process behind, and then they give them more stuff to help it a little bit more, but then they go numb, and then they're telling them to do things that they can't because the drugs have enforced certain things on that body. So that was a space that we didn't want to go anywhere near, and we sort of embodied that using manifestation as well. Taylor journaled. She pretty much wrote out the exact story of how the birth played out, which was cool, to like the exact hour nearly, which was fucking... things happen with the manifestation stuff. Like when you don't know about it, it can seem woo-woo, but when you fucking write shit down and it happens, and then you do it again and it happens, and then you do it again and it happens, you start to believe it. So we're using those practices.
It's no longer coincidence.
It's not a coincidence anymore. And the stuff that we learned lots of acupressure points, lots of massaging, foot massages, and these all enhance the birth process and the labour process. So we practiced them. We're very strict with that, which I think would have really helped. Like it seemed like it helped anyway, because like when I was doing it, I was like, fuck, I'm buggered from work. Like, I can't be bothered, but I'll do it because it's such a special, sacred time. So I did it. And fast forward to the birthday, we were just laying in bed. It felt a little bit, it just felt normal really. We ended up having sex, and that instigated it. So like we had sex, and then I was actually getting ready for work, and Taylor's like, oh, Jamie, I think you should stay home today. I was like, okay, well, let's stay home. It was a full moon too, so that was pretty cool.
That was too, hey.
Yeah, it was so awesome.
And sorry to cut you off, but our son's middle name is Wolf, and we chose that name like months before, and his due date was like 2 weeks before, and he was like 2 weeks past, and he landed right on the full moon. I'm like, how's that, man?
Divine timing. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So we started the day off just very normal. Like I'd done some paperwork, I was sending emails, like I was checking in on Taylor, and she was just flowing. She was on the exercise ball and going through her surges. We ended up going for little walks. We walked like 50 meters down the road, and it took us like half an hour or something. And then we walked back, and she was doing we learnt like gutter walk, so 1 foot on the gutter, 1 foot on the road, and it's pretty much like shifting the pelvis just to get ready for that, but the baby to come. So that whole process was probably from about 5 a.m. till about 12 or 1 o'clock. Then it started getting pretty serious, and we rang the midwife. Like we let the midwife and doula know throughout the day. But then we rang the doula up and go, you should probably come here.
So has her waters broke by this point yet?
Not yet. No, that hadn't happened yet. I think I don't know if it all just happened like so quickly. I can't remember if they actually did.
Because sometimes they break just as baby's coming out.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I can't 100% remember that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Anyways, I was trying to get the bath ready, and like it was so stressful because Taylor's going through this stuff, and it's just a little house too. The hose connection wasn't working, and it was leaking in where Taylor was. Taylor was in the shower, on all fours, and this was pretty much for about 2 hours before baby was born. And I was running around like a headless chook, just stressing out a bit. And then the doula and Taylor's like, Jamie, you should come in here. It was more or less the doula, because Taylor was like in between surges, she was sort of there, but when she was gone, she was gone. Like it was like, she was not there. It was pretty cool. It was fucking heaps cool actually to experience that. Like I got a whole new respect for women now,
Yeah.
especially that go through that sacred birthing process.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember Kira saying that it was like she was here and then out and in and out of
they
realms.
go and, well, they say that they go and grab the soul from the stars. Like the
Whoa.
woman goes off and grabs the soul, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much
Crazy.
what looks like was happening.
Yeah.
So they hollered me into the bathroom. The pool was definitely not ready, so I was happy that it happened this way. But I saw baby's head come out, and then it went back in, and the doula's like, she's like, just breathe and just take your time and breathe. I'm like, the head's there, push, push. Feels like a doctor,
Yeah.
push. And then like her body just naturally, like it was floating and it came out, and then the next surge, the whole, like I was standing behind her and the whole, he just flopped out. It was like, it was so nuts how quick it happened. And I just had a little baby boy in my hands, and I was looking at him, and I just looked at him, and I go, it's a boy, it's a boy. And at one point, actually, when he was birthed, the Holly, our doula, she said, "Oh, get her a towel." And Taylor thought it was a baby, but it was get Taylor a towel. And she's like, "Oh, it's a girl." And I'm going, "It's a boy, it's a boy." And I was just laughing. I don't know why. It was just such an emotional rush, and I haven't cried for a long time, and I thought I may have cried then, but I hysterically started laughing. Like it was just so funny for some reason. And it was like laughter and joy and all these happy emotions run through as the oxytocin's probably running through all of us. Did you experience that? Like that high? Like how good does it feel?
Yeah, it was crazy because we had to transfer to hospital. Kira was in labour for 24 hours.
Yeah, okay.
And then we ended up transferring to hospital because we knew right from the get-go that something wasn't right.
Yeah. You just feel it, eh?
Yeah, I could feel it. And Kira was in way too much pain from the get-go. It was like, and it was all on her backside, like her lower back. There was nothing coming down the front. And later on we realised that baby's head was stuck at the back there. We were doing Rebozo, we were doing all the things. We made love, try to push baby into position, and
sometimes the medical system, that's when it's appropriate, and that's why we're so blessed to have it. But like it shouldn't be a first result, right?
Yeah.
Because resort, should I say? Yeah.
Well, if we do plan on having another, and we'll try again to do the home birth. Yeah. But yeah, I was.
And it just happens how it happens. Like, that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and sort of same with you. But I shed so many tears as soon as my boy came out, and it was like a build-up because I was just trying to hold it together, watching Kira in so much pain for so long, for 24 hours, giving her massages, like just trying to be of service and hold space for her and hold it together. The amount of times I just wanted to cry witnessing her in that much pain.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And as soon as that first cry came out from our baby boy, like I was like, all right, it's safe for me.
Yeah.
And I just let all the tears out.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was insane. And I'll never forget that moment, man.
It's I don't think you will.
I remember walking out I did tell my birth story on episode number 1 of this podcast. And I remember walking out of the hospital the day, like just a couple of hours after he arrived. He was just having a nap, and it had rained that night, and it was just like the sun was glistening on everything. It was like just the most beautiful day ever. It was like the storm had gone, and now my sun was out and the sun was out.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
that's sick, isn't it? So going back to that, when Hayes was born, the midwife wasn't actually there yet, so that was crazy too. So it was just us, the doula, and now baby boy, and our midwife ended up coming later. But what made me think of it, like how it all turned out, like if the woman and the partner too, it's very important for the partner to be very like there. If all goes well, like it's such a sacred space that I think everybody should experience. Like obviously there's emergencies, and I've experienced it from one of Taylor's friends, well not me personally, but she same thing, had a very long labour and they ended up having to go to hospital. And that's an awesome thing that's there for that to happen. But with that space at home, like I feel like it would be so stressful. Like say you're going into labour, And then you think about going to like what time to go to the hospital, because it was even stressful thinking about what time to call the doula and midwife. So to be able to organise the car and all that sort of stuff would have been just added stresses on top of an already pretty stressful situation.
And taking the woman out of the left brain as well.
Yep. I've got to go to car, rather than being that primal sort of like flowing in and out of the energy and like tapping into source and using that energy. But after little Hazy boy was born, he was born 11 minutes before the full moon, and then that was just such a special night. Like, we went and laid on the bed, and placenta was birthed after, and all was well. There was heaps of yummy snacks there too that we got to enjoy, because I was waiting for like a couple of days to have them all. It was like, we got yummy chocolates and whatnot.
Dude, we did the same. We bought all this nice snack food for Kira to have during labour, and she wasn't sick during the pregnancy at all. I think she vomited once at the start, and then she was like, I'm sweet. I was like, I can eat whatever. I feel good. I think the only food she was turned off was corn. And then, we had all this food prepared for the birth, and that was the only time she was like vomiting during the birth, during labour, and I was just like snacking the whole time. I ate all the food.
Yeah, good that. Well, someone's got to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was very, very, very special. I'm blessed to experience that at such a young age too. Like, I was almost 27. I was 26. He was born, it was like 16 days before me or something. He's born on the same day as Rum Dus, actually. 6th of April.
Wow.
Little Rum Dus.
Yeah.
Little, because he's another mentor of mine, Rum Dus. Like, he's pretty much in my ears majority of the time that I do breath work or meditate. Even on the way here, have you seen his new little album? It's like, just listen to my heart song.
And there's a cool new one that just dropped with Liquid Bloom.
Yeah.
I think I linked it to you, actually.
I haven't. Maybe. I haven't had a book.
I prefer. I do like Rum Dus, but I've taken a bit more liking to Alan Watts.
Oh, how good's he too?
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that. Alan Watts, he's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Shane Murray actually sent me something yesterday. With him, it's just he's a poet, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
He's an awesome poet.
So good.
Yeah, it's sick.
Well, it seems like you're on a forevolution path of just getting better and evolving. So what can people expect from Jamie in 2024?
So, from me personally, so let's go back to near end of 2023. A lot of my things that I thought were happening in life got completely switched up around. Like, I had a plumbing business, and I was in business relationships with, Chris Buzzer. With him for about 5 years, nearly 6 years. And we're just nothing really happened, just because it was affecting our friendship, and you just grow apart from people as well. Like, I had a kid, like he got married, just things happen. So we ended up going our separate ways, and I was left with like, what am I going to do now? And like me embodying, it's like, and everything happens for a reason, right? Like me picking up How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy 4 years prior and learning all the things in that book and embodying it really helped me know. I was almost instant. It's like, what am I going to do now? Holistic practitioner, or I'll get into the movement science of stuff, or both, and incorporate it both. And I was like, okay, I'm doing that. And then the corrective culture boys, watching them, I'm like, fuck, they're doing it. Why the fuck can't I do it? Like, they've done it. Like, I've been learning it and practicing it. Like, why can't I go deeper and deeper and teach other people too? Yeah. So fast forward to now, which is about 4 months prior, I've pretty much non-stop studied every day, learnt a shitload, got a shitload more to learn. And I'm thinking probably within the next, say, a couple of months, I'm just working on it now, but I'm going to start taking on clients just to guide them through the first part of it, which I've been learning for like the past, say, 4 years now. Like, it's the 4 doctors and the 6 foundation principles. Like, they're the main things. You don't need to worry about anything else. You need to nail them, and then the other stuff can come. Then you can focus on, say, starting a business or doing that. Usually it takes up to 6 months. But for somebody who's really dedicated, it would take about 6 months. Yeah. For someone not so dedicated, it takes a little bit longer, and they fall into their own ways and go back. It can take years.
Yeah, like, that was me.
Yeah, and same here. It took me years to actually do it. And now it's like, and I was talking to Kyle about it the other day, it's like second nature. It's like, I don't even think about grabbing that fucking Mars bar, where it's 5-6 years ago I probably would have if I was at the servo. But it's like I look at it all now and it's like it's not even in my reality. It's not even there anymore. Like I do notice it because I'm like, look at all, and the way that I notice it, this is my business mind. I go, fuck, that's good advertising, good marketing. It's so colourful and pretty, and it's right there, and that's how I look at it now. It's like, oh, they're good at marketing, and they are, aren't they? Like,
and it's also you're voting with your dollar.
yes, 100%.
You know, if you're supporting that, whatever it is, and it's not in line with your values and what you want to put out into the world, then you're voting for that to continue. Yeah,
100%. So I'm gonna work with clients soon, one-on-one to start, because this is still new to me to working with other people. So I want to do it properly, and I want to make sure I am actually impacting people. I don't want to just do it for money. Like that's a byproduct of it, but I want to actually genuinely help people, especially like young men like us, to be able to go do stuff with our lives. Like, we're not there just to go and work for someone and be so normal and live a very mediocre life and go get a home loan, and then you get your car loan and you're stuck to that for fucking 30 years. Like that is horrible for my mind, right? Like thinking about that stuff. So helping people and guiding them to what they want to do ultimately, because I feel like we get there's constraints, right, with the everyday life. Like it makes me feel a little bit sick thinking about it, to be honest with you. Like just being normal, like being so switched off, and it can, I guess, it wouldn't be a blessing at all, but looking at some people, I'd be like, it'd be nice to be just that unaware of everything.
I was like that last night. Like,
it'd be so nice just to be so unaware. But
I was like, man, I wish I could just eat this pizza. Last night I was like, there's no other food around. I was like, I forgot to pack my healthy stuff to bring on the road. And I was like, I almost cried. I was like, I'm so hungry. I was like, I just want to eat something. But then I honoured myself.
That's that discipline, though.
I just smashed a bit of water.
Yeah, and you're sweet as, like, you think, oh, I'm so hungry, but realistically, you can fast, and and that too. You're more than likely just thirsty. So like, and that just having that dig of discipline just then, that's gonna snowball. Saying yes to that stuff then would have made you more likely to probably say yes to that stuff today. So it's like, the more discipline you build on top of discipline, you can go a long way. And that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to help other people get that way. And eventually I'll go down the rehabilitation path. That'll probably be another couple of years of study and embodying all those practices. But
which is IMS? Yeah,
IMS. I'm doing the prerequisites now. I've been learning the scientific core stuff. So that alone, that course is so in depth of to do with the core, obviously, but it's like the foundation principles to exercise, and then practicing all this stuff, and then going to the gym and observing other people at the gym. I try not to judge, but I'd say 95% of the people still today are doing the wrong thing. Like there's I saw a PT training there the other day. There was a lady, she was a bit larger, and she was doing heavy deadlifts, and I'm looking at her and learning about the core. I'm thinking, she doesn't look like she's got a very functional core, and just watching the mechanics, observing it. So to stabilize your core, ultimately, you need to draw your belly button towards your spine. So every time before you do some sort of a heavy lift, you should charge your cavities, and then that in turn stabilizes your spine with the transverse abdominis and the thoracolumbar fascia. And do you go to the gyms? Yeah. So if you notice at the gym, a lot of time people's belly actually push out. So to activate it, you need to suck in and stabilize your spine, which creates an extension force on the lower lumbar spine.
So does that come into using your breath a certain way as well? Like you're breathing?
Yep. And that's where we were talking about this morning, like breathing diaphragmatically. So breathing with your belly first for the first 2/3 of the breath, and then the last third with your chest. And a lot of people are backwards that way. So just little things there. And I'm no expert in this now. I consider myself quite deep into like the diet and lifestyle stuff, but still then no expert. But just learning about these things from expert and embodying them and practicing them for say it was probably been about 3 months now, daily, really focusing on myself and watching my improvements at the gym. Like noticing that when I do a squat with that charged cavity, activating my deep abdominal wall, I can lift heavier and it's not painful on my spine. Whereas I did it the other day, I did heavy and then I didn't do it, and I noticed straight away I could feel that sheer force down on my lower lumbar spine. Like it's, you practice these things, and now that I think of it, that was the same with like I said earlier, with the diet type. Like I found I was polar, so I went and tried the other one first and realized, okay, yeah, no, I'm probably polar. So I went and tried that and realized that I go better off that. So trying that, looking at the other side of the coin ultimately. So understanding how to do it in the correct manner, how the body is designed to stabilize and lift, and then doing it the wrong way, and you notice difference.
Yeah. Well, my mentor for learning it breathless, Johannes, taught us it's like your diaphragm's like a Coke can. He's like, if it's pushed out, he's like, you got that stability there, but if one little crunch or one little kink in that Coke can and you stand on it, it's just going to crush. And he's like, and that's just like your spine as well.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's and like you said, you're no expert. I'd rather be learning from people that are on the journey rather than people that are saying, I've done this, I'm perfect. Yeah. It's like being able to see that they're still human and they have their faults, just like us all.
We're not special. We're just, it's funny. Like you put, and I've never met Paul Chek or anything like that, but you put these people under certain like categories. Like, they're very exceptional in their field, but at the end of the day, they're still human beings.
Yeah.
They still got emotions. They still got relationships they got to tend to. Like they're just normal people. They're not aliens. Can't wait. I probably will fanboy a little bit when I do meet him one day, but same thing. He'll probably just be like, "How you going? What's going on?" Like, just very normal, and it'll be. You resonate with the energy, but
I definitely want to get a few more Checkies on the podcast. I want to get Glenn McLeod on.
Yeah, he'd be a good one.
And
he's pretty deep into it.
Matt
would be awesome
as well. So one of your teachers and teachings was Paul Chek and the Chek Institute. I know you're a big reader. Did you want to share any teachers or teachings, or maybe books that it could have been a teacher or teaching as well, with the listeners before we wrap it up?
If I make it simple, like you said earlier, get How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy, because it's like that's the first step. Like that's your first walk into the journey of health, and it's like a step-by-step process too. Like you go in there, it's got all the questions that you ask yourself. It's got here it is.
Yeah, hold it up. I'll get the camera. There we go.
How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. So it's got everything in there. It's got the questionnaires. It's got what body type you are, what stresses you're most likely to have now, and you do know, like there's that little voice inside everybody's head, which is your soul, which is also impersonated by your ego. That everyone's got it, right? So you will know if the things that come out into that questionnaire are things that resonate with you deeply. Like he might say on there that you got a fungal and parasite, which is one. If anybody that's not healthy, that will be the highest. They'll be in the red zone for that for sure. So, and you'll know, you'll look at that and go, oh yeah, I get a bit itchy after I eat certain foods, or I've got energy problems. You'll know what that is. So How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy, great book. If you like the self-help stuff, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill's awesome, which Earl Nightingale narrates that on Spotify. So Earl Nightingale's got the 13 principles, pretty much a condensed version of them, and I've listened to that probably about 10,000 hours worth, not even exaggerating. I used to listen to it for like 8 hours a day at work, just in my ears, just over and over. It goes for about 40 minutes, so you just, and that the reason why I do that is one of the principles is the subconscious mind and how powerful that is, and then doing the auto suggestion, so like pretty much imprinting that into your subconscious mind constantly, you will tend to do the things that you put into your mind. And that can go both ways. Like you can say, I'm fat, I'm unhealthy, yada, yada, yada. You're putting that program into your mind. Same thing gets put out. Input, output. It's as simple as that. So that book, How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy, Think and Grow Rich. I've read so many other books. Like investing wise, like if you're keen on that, you can't go wrong with reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I guess it's like a story, but also gets you into like the investing field. And they're pretty much it off the top of my head. Like I can start rattling off other books, but
And follow Jamie on Instagram.
yeah, follow me on Instagram. I do post a lot on there and some informative stuff and things that people can follow
And the Corrective Culture Boys, they're
awesome.
really leading the way
they're
for the Chek Institute
sick
in Australia. So they got a really good podcast. They got TikTok if you got that, or Instagram. Go follow them on them. They've got just pumping out their content.
Awesome.
Yeah,
they're great.
It's all about Paul Chek stuff. So go follow them.
They're great.
I've also
Shout out
got
Corrective Culture.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I used to watch Jake Stone bodyboard. Back in the day, I was like obsessed with him. Then I went through my shit of bendering and just didn't bodyboard. Wasn't watching that sort of stuff anymore. And then came back to health. Then he pops up in my newsfeed, and I was like, "Fuck, that looks like Jake." I was like, "Well, he's got no hair." And I was like, "It is Jake Stone." I was like, "Holy shit, yeah!"
Sick,
but I've also got Matt Sorensen's book here, which is What Pain Is Telling You, which is another way of saying what Paul talks about, the pain teacher. Just recognizing what's happening in your body from certain foods, certain pains, and how to address them, and why they're showing up, and why you need to listen to them, because they're
well, it's like what you
Do you
said.
want to hold the camera up for these? This book?
It's like what you said too. There's that one.
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen that one, but put that back there. It's like what you're saying about too. You had that niggle in your wrist, and you went and saw Matt, and he fucking figured out that it was something in your neck. So like the body's interconnected like that. Like just because you got something wrong with your leg doesn't necessarily mean it's your leg. Like it can be your organs. Because on our spine, they say that the limbs, I think, or muscles share the same neuro pathways as your organs. So let's say your liver can share the same as your left arm. I don't know if that's right, but for conversation's sake. So if there's something wrong with your liver, it's gonna manifest in that limb or in that part of your body. But then you can just think that that's your right shoulder, but realistically it's your drinking problem, or your body's filtering out the majority of the toxins that you're putting into your body. So yeah, just because it's necessarily in a certain spot doesn't mean that that's where it is.
And what Matt did for me
Does he talk about in that book? He would, wouldn't he?
And so what Matt did for me was, like, he helped the pain go away, but then he gave me the power to take home and take it into my own hands to stop it from coming back.
Which is the most important thing. Like, you can have an expert telling you anything, but fucking doesn't mean you're going to do shit.
Like, some people go back for massage weekly, and it's like, it's just, here it is, it's back again.
Yeah, it's back again. Well, you're not doing the work. Like, you're not doing your stretching. Are you doing your rolling? Are you staying hydrated? Like, it's, and I said that at the start, and I'll say it so many more times in my lifetime. Like, all those basic fundamental things are the reason why all these people are so like healthy, and they're so advanced, because they take care of their body. And I hear Paul say about it still today. Is like, Paul, why is your body, like, why do you stay so physically strong? It's like, because his physically strong body needs to get is equally as strong as his ever growing mind. Like, and I feel like that's happening with me now. Like, I was always physically healthy in a sense. Like, I always ran, box, whatever. But only now I've noticed that my body as a whole is getting so strong together with my mind. Like, it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's just I'm getting to that age where it's like I'm starting to understand that a little bit more and incorporate it. But it's so true. Like, in order to be as smart, and I don't know how people go through life, but other people are different, I guess. But in order to be like the top tier of where you want to get to in life, like, to be physically healthy at that same level is so fucking important, I believe. Like, you can be super duper smart, but if you're a slob, like, how long is that gonna last for? If you're drinking Coca-Cola and smoking ciggies because you're stressed out all day, you're gonna pretty much dig yourself an early grave, and you're not gonna get smarter. Like, your brain lives in your blood, so if that blood's fucking toxic, how are you going to think correctly? Like, how are you going to make intelligent decisions? Like, you're not, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say to Paul, like, why isn't your Chek Institute more popular than it is if it works so well? And he's like, because the individual has to do the work.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not giving you it's like not a one visit time thing and then you're fixed.
Yeah.
It's like you take these things home and you practice them and you embody them, and then you're your own teacher, you're your own healer.
Yeah. You got to take it on board 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up, man. We've been here a while.
How long's it been?
An hour 40.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
It just goes so quick, doesn't it?
It feels
Such
like
a
it's been
lovely
half an
spot.
hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, hey? Yeah.
Well, man, this has been so good.
No worries. I hope it was quite informative for the listeners.
Yeah, and let's do it again.
Yeah. I'm new to podcasts too. I may or may not ramble on.
Oh, that's all good. I'm new as well.
It's all a part of it, isn't it?
Like, it's all a part of the learning curve.
It's just life.
And you're going to be going through, like you said, the IMS, which is, for the listeners, again, that's another Chek course called Integrated Movement Science, which is all about stabilizing the body and moving correctly.
Yeah, you learn about posture. It's pretty much like the first step towards healing and helping people. Like, it goes in about posture. You learn about all the different sort of movements that incorporate that. And it's got the those two prerequisites, the scientific core and scientific back within that all. So it's so important to, and then program design too. So you sort of learn about it all. And it's I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, this is like one of the first courses you got to do in this stuff. It's fucking so in depth. Like, it's intimidating looking at all the shit in there.
Yeah.
So just, if you are starting it too, take my advice from it. Because I bought heaps of courses just because they were on sale. But if you buy all the courses, make a little plan, and the plan might change, but make a little plan on how you're going to achieve it, and just focus on one video at a time.
Yeah.
Just don't. You can look at them all and scan over them, but it's very intimidating looking at all the work that's ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick, man.
Yeah.
Well, what's your Instagram? Is it Jamie?
Jamie W_.
Yeah, and you spell Jamie differently.
JAIMEW_.
Cool. No worries, man. Well, thanks heaps for this, bro.
No worries, brother.
Legend.
Yeah, good. You.
That was sick. It went for just as long as